Everyone, it's great to have you here. I'm Teresa Youngkin, and I'm passionate about helping healthcare leaders stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new technologies by simplifying complex technology concepts into business-oriented language so that you find value. Well, whether you're struggling with data initiatives, you're trying to make informed decisions about bringing in new technology or using technology, or you're just dealing with the constant changes in the market, and we know that there are so many changes, we've got you covered. Now, for those of you who've joined us in previous episodes, it's great to see you back. And for others, welcome. And we are glad you could join this series on generative AI. We've been talking about it all summer. Now, today we're taking a deeper dive into the world of AI regulations, both at the federal and the state levels. And we've got a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. Now, I just want to start with a brief history of AI. For those of you that don't know, the concept of machines thinking like humans has been around for centuries. But it wasn't until the mid-20th century that the term artificial intelligence was coined. Now we're going to fast forward to today, and we've seen that AI has permeated every industry, from healthcare to finance, and it's even in our daily lives, right? We've got personal assistants like Siri, Alexa. We use ChatGPT for efficiencies in our work. We use Netflix, right? They've got AI-driven algorithms in the back to help us see the movies that we like and the shows that we like. Brings it to our attention. Well, I just want to talk about how you should be looking at this healthcare data from the very beginning. Now, you should be looking at your data in four buckets, kind of what you're generating internally, what you're getting externally, what your customers are generating, and all the other ancillary, or I should say other data that comes up alongside of the data that you use to understand. Now, because my expertise lies in the healthcare field, we're going to consider the healthcare data that we collect falling into four buckets. And they are number one, the healthcare system generated data. So that would be EHR data, right? Practice management data. Number two, consumer health and wellness industry generated data from my Fitbit. Three, digital exhaust that's generated as a byproduct of my or the consumer's daily activities. That would be things like, what are they saying and doing on social media? And number four, non-health demographic, social, and economic sources. We know in healthcare that these are part of the social drivers of health, and we use this data to help us do the data science and to help us improve the delivery of healthcare for our patients and our members. Now, with great power comes great responsibility. We are collecting a lot of data as healthcare organizations and as many other organizations, whether you know it or not. So as AI continues to evolve, so do the concerns about data privacy and the ethical implications of machine decision making. Now, I want to just give you a general rule in healthcare. HIPAA is the floor when it comes to data privacy, right? We have other rules, we have other laws to think about when it comes to protecting data. It is the same in the engineering world. We have ASTM, we've got ANSI. So just letting everybody know that, usually what's at the federal level is the floor to your data privacy policies. Now, I also want to let you know that as I refer to the articles that are here in the resources, there are links in the description about this. I really want to make sure that you guys have access to this. Some of this is really good, and it may open your eyes to some issues that you may not be aware of. So according to a Reuters article, there's a growing concern about data privacy in the healthcare sector. And we know this. If you're having conversations with your CISO, you're hearing this. And with data-driven tools powered by AI, those concerns are becoming more prevalent in healthcare, and there's a need for clear guidelines on how patient data is used and protected, and that just doesn't happen at the federal level. There's a Foley article that highlights the increasing scrutiny by both federal and state regulators on how consumer health data is being used, right? This is what I talk about when I say HIPAA's the floor, because there are FTC proposed changes to the health breach notification rule. I think the comment period was over sometime in August. And states like Washington, Nevada, and Connecticut, right, they're drafting amendments to existing data privacy laws right now. And as we talk about those state regulations, I want to talk about EPIC. And I'm not talking about EPIC, the EHR. I'm talking about the Electronic Privacy Information Center. They put together a report on the state of AI laws, I think monthly that it comes out, but it is a piece of gold if you're wondering how AI is being pursued in your state. And if you look at this particular, the link that I gave you in the description, you'll see that there is a patchwork of regulations across the US when it comes to AI and regulation. And each state is really grappling with how to regulate the AI, right? Um, when you're grappling with these complicated issues, it does lead to a complex landscape for businesses to navigate. And like I said, the link's going to take you to a pretty comprehensive overview of what's happening around AI legislation in every state. Now, we all know that this is not just about regulations. It's also, we need to understand the implications of AI on our human health. Now, a study from the National Center for Biotechnology Information, the NCBI, they took a deeper dive into the challenges and the opportunities of using AI in healthcare. And the conclusion was that we need transparency and accountability. They emphasized that very heavily. And when we speak about transparency, the Department of Health and Human Services, they've released guidelines on sharing and utilizing health data for AI applications. And they also emphasize the importance of patient consent and data protection. Data consent, I talked about this last week, the week before, that consent isn't just collecting the signature, saying that we're collecting the data. It's what are we going to do with the data? How is this data going to be used? Will this data be identified and pushed out? So, and knowing that the power AI has to re-aggregate data, we need to be very careful, and we need to be writing policies and procedures around um, those types of data protection. Now let's talk about existing data privacy laws, right? So according to IAPP, there's also a link to that report. Many existing data privacy laws already cover key data-related aspects of AI. Now, there is a rush to adopt new regulations, and it's essential to recognize that many current laws already address these concerns when it comes to health data. I just want to make a plug here for one thing. When you hear about in your societies and in your professional organizations, you hear about new regulations that are coming. When there is a national proposed rulemaking, when that's published and they're asking for comments during the comment period, it's very important that organizations participate in that. Every organization has a voice, and every organization has the ability to has the ability to uh, have an influence on the laws that get written, right? Like we can go to the AMA, we can go to AHIP, but that boots on the ground experience, there's nothing like it when it comes to rulemaking. So I would encourage you, even it doesn't have to be sophisticated or anything. You need to have your voice heard. So make sure that it is being heard around AI, because we've had experience in past regulations that have been dropped that sometimes there's a conflict between the state and the federal rules. And that causes a lot of angst and confusion when it comes to actually implementing and applying the law to what we're doing. So I would encourage you, every voice should be heard. Doesn't matter if you are a small practice or rural health plan, your voice matters. All right, I'll get off my soapbox here. We know in an AI-driven world that protecting privacy becomes even more crucial, and the Brookings Institute discusses those policy options for privacy protection. And again, they emphasize the need for transparency, explainability, and risk assessment when it comes to this. I know that this is a lot. We've been talking for a while. So let's boil it down. The TLDR. What are the 3 top tips every executive should know about AI regulation? Number 1, you need to stay informed. With regulations constantly evolving, it is essential to stay updated on both federal and state laws. I know you're probably already doing it, but this is another tick mark to make sure that it's getting done. You need to prioritize your transparency. Ensure that your AI systems are transparent, explainable, and they're building trust with your users. Again, make sure that your users understand what's happening, and you can do that through informed consent and an e-consent. My gosh, use e-consent. Lastly, invest in data protection, right? Protecting our user data should be top priority, top of mind in everything that we do, because we want to ensure that we've got robust data protection measures in place. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you found this overview and the links to all the resources for AI regulations very informative. So next week will be the last episode that we're going to be talking about generative AI in this fashion, in this series, but it's not the last time I'm going to talk about generative AI because I'm here every week talking about new technology. How does it affect our leadership? How do we get our teams involved? We go through so many different things here about being effective, efficient leaders in healthcare when it comes to technology. So I'll be back here talking about generative AI because we know it is not going anywhere anytime soon. And tune in next week. I'm going to give you some final thoughts about what AI can do and what it will do for healthcare. I'll also give you an update on the recent Fire Connectathon that went on, FAST Healthcare Interoperability Resources, Fire, and what was going on and what we heard there, because I know many of you are really concerned about prior auth, the burden reduction rules, what's happening out there now. And I'll give you a little bit of an update about that next week as well, because AI was a topic of discussion last week at the HL7 work group meeting. So just want to bring you more information around that. And thank you. I know that this one ran a little bit long, but I appreciate your time, your energy. And as always, tune in, drop me a comment, and we'll be headed to a podcasting format sooner than later. All right, guys, you guys take care, and I'll catch you here next week. Bye. Hey, I forgot. Happy fall, y'all.